Aloha. Good morning. I love hearing all the connections and chatter and conversations. I hope everyone's still thinking about something they learned yesterday during the programming. The luau last night. But talking about the programming, Seb and John, mind blown. I hope everyone started their list, their bucket list. I think OJ, if he's here, I can't see anybody. I think his bucket list was hula dancing, and I think he completed it. So OJ, check it. It was awesome. Hey, Saturday was great. Today's Sunday, but a couple quick things before we get started. First, if you'd like to receive your complimentary yearbook for 2026, be sure to go and sign up so it gets sent to the correct address. It's in, correct me if I'm wrong, registration. Yep, thank you. It's fantastic, the yearbook. If you got it last year, it's a great thing to have. Also, don't forget QR code on the back of your badge. We encourage you to use it. Upload your favorite photos to the convention app and could end up in the yearbook. All right, let's see. Perfect. Whether it's a great networking moment or a fun memory with colleagues, we'd love your help, so please enter the pictures. All right, let's get started. Operational spotlight introduction. One of the defining characteristics of a successful organization is strong collaboration across every stage of the product life cycle, from concept to commercialization. Our first panel discussion brings together leaders who understand the realities of turning great ideas into successful products. You'll hear practical strategies for scaling new products, overcoming commercialization challenges, designing flexible manufacturing processes and equipment, and balancing product quality with operational efficiency. Whether you're in engineering, operations, R&D, manufacturing, or leadership, this conversation is designed to share practical information. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Reading Bakery Systems for sponsoring this session. Please join me in welcoming our panelists for the Operations Spotlight.
How's it going? Aloha, everyone. This is Sergio Caballero with Food Tools. I've been coming to BEMA for about 9 years now. This is my 9th one. One of the things I love most about the baking industry is BEMA Golf. Why not? Let's do this. Have a good day, everyone. Aloha.
Hello, BEMA. This is Kathy Sargent with Bimbo Bakeries USA, where I'm the Vice President of Baking Technology and Commercialization. This will be my 3rd year at the BEMA Annual Convention, and what I love is the connections. I love connecting with industry partners and experts, seeing great friends, meeting up with global colleagues, and look forward to making many new connections this year.
Hello, I'm Paul Trujillo with the Rise Baking Company. This is my 3rd BEMA convention, and what I love most about the baking industry is innovation of products, innovation of equipment, and just the constant innovation even within companies through acquisitions and organic growth. Just always a lot going on in the industry. It's very exciting. It's never a dull moment. And that's what I love about it. Bye.
Aloha, my name is Sarah Chicanos. I'm with the Campbell's Company working on the Pepperidge Farm brands. This is my 5th year getting to attend convention, and I truly love being a part of the baking industry as the work we do centers around food that brings smiles to people's faces and joy into their homes. And being a small part of that is so truly special to me.
Wow, those lights are bright. Aloha, everyone. Good morning. I'm excited to be up here with these panelists. And one of the things we were talking about how you go from R&D and you go into commercialization, and sitting here with them and talking about everything and learning about what they do. One of the things that comes up, what are the best practices from R&D to engineering team to putting it into the production floor? And I mean, we get to learn a lot about what these people do every single day and everybody. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to learning more about this and see where this goes. So one of the big things, go ahead, Esteban, I know you're going to say something. One of the big things is we have co-manufacturing up here and we have private label. So there are two different aspects of what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. On Roskin, we're co-manufacturing with private equity owned. So our speed is a little bit different. One of the challenges that we have is we don't have a whole lot of information up front. So specifications are scarce a little bit. And then we don't handle what the customer wants. So for us, it's very important to be aggressive. And what I mean aggressive is we have to be disciplined with engineering. We have to be disciplined with project management, engage research and development from our side, the customer side, very quickly, and then be flexible to innovate as things are progressing. So that's kind of the key for us is flexibility, but also be very careful in project management and engineering.
And I can build on that. I come from Bimbo Bakeries. We're pretty big. So with that comes a lot of complexity, but a lot of opportunity as well. So I think when we think about successful partnership, it even starts somewhat at how we organize our structure. So I lead a team that's called Baking Technology and Commercialization. And it's just that. We're kind of an operations team that bridges feasibility to marketing, scale up in partnership with R&D, and then how does that really impact the bakeries? So it starts with that structure, but then we also have some best practices in how we capture that knowledge. So we do typical project debriefs. I think they're very important, but we take it to the next level of even looking at global design and how do we document what the best product and the best design would look like. So we do that both for the product and capture that globally and for the engineering process itself and the equipment. But I think even beyond that is what do you do with it? So structurally, even under my team, we have training. So technical training sits with our group as well in operations. And it's how do we capture those learnings, that knowledge, that so much of our industry right now is tribal knowledge. It's individuals that have been in the organizations and the companies for so very long, but the new associates are different. They're changing rapidly. How do we train them rapidly? So it's taking those models, pressure testing, using them against how are we producing today, thinking about how we use that for training and the next generations as well.
Thank you. Paul, you got anything?
Yeah, so kind of like what Stefan says, we're more of a wholesale bakery. We're not CPG, we don't have a brand. So we actually do what our customers would like. You know, we're pretty well embedded with some of the major grocery chains in America. We reach out to those buyers. What are you looking for? How do we extend our products offering with you right now? We take that back to our teams and we either add additions to lines, vary the products, capabilities on them. So that's basically what we do.
And our approach is very similar, I think, to Kathy's team without the global lens. So at Campbell's, under the Pepperidge Farm brands, our commercialization teams are comprised of R&D and engineering professionals that are more of the boots on the ground representation for those specific projects. But we have other resources internally that are loosely assigned to those projects that the boots on the ground folks can tap into. So a bit more nimble in our approach because we have less of that footprint just being in North America, but still working in those aggressive timelines and still working to capture all of that knowledge and work that goes on to bring that product to shelf.
So what would you say are some of the disconnects from product innovation to line capabilities to everything along the process of making that product or products? What would you say was a common disconnect?
I can say one challenge and often disconnect, it's connected to communication, but it's around speed. We're a room full of leaders here and executives. I will say, because we're friends and we've been connecting, I can honestly put this out here that connectors, leaders are often very strong activators. And activators bring a lot of energy to projects, a lot of excitement, but we try to work on like a 2-year horizon, especially for true innovation. And when you bring in leadership, that 2-year timeline compresses to 6 months really quickly. And it's a balance of how do we demonstrate the risk, how do we communicate the challenges with complexity, especially when new lines are required or new equipment, and manage because the reality is you can share risk, but those leaders and executives, as you know, are also pretty aggressive risk takers. So you have to be prepared for that. And then I think as leaders, we have to continue to think about what is the portion of our project load that we truly can accelerate. Because giving teams permission, excitement to get behind projects is great, but if everything's urgent and important, nothing's urgent and important. So finding that balance with the leadership group and communicating it.
Yeah.
I think to reiterate something that Kathy touched on, because of those inherently compressed timelines on many projects that come across our plate, there's not time and opportunity to invest in capital. So really working with those OEMs on what is the opportunity within our existing infrastructure to make this new product work on existing assets. So being able to integrate that knowledge and expertise on those projects that just inherently don't allow for that capital spend is critical and crucial.
Yeah, I would like to say that we are a little bit reactive and our world is a little bit different. We don't have good information on the product. We know that there's a need to do something. So we have to be flexible enough to pivot at any time. And then our teams understand that we are co-developing a product with the customer. Many times we are installing lines and then the product changes. And we just have to pivot immediately to just accommodate to that. Our timeframes are much smaller. So we typically see that there's no project that passes 12 months. So when we start seeing that the vendors have 52-week lead times, that's really a killer for us. So it's something that is one of the biggest struggles. Lack of information up front and then being able to flex and then just accommodate to the needs of the customer.
Yeah, so we're definitely reactive as well. It's kind of unfortunate. We'd like to be ahead of that. But again, we typically work with our customers to give them what they want. Getting commitment from them helps a lot because if they commit to a product, then we could design our line around it. That can be challenging to get sometimes. And so we're kind of in a situation where we're taking a risk, putting something in for them. But again, the long lead times don't help. Customers typically want things turned around in a very short period of time. And when you tell them, hey, it's going to take 18 months to get this, they kind of get cooled on the idea of it. They'll say, well, we'll try to find it somewhere else. So,
Yeah, I get that. I mean, as an OEM, we always feel reactive to you guys. And it's crazy because you guys call us and say, hey, we need this in 6 months. And then we're like, can't happen within a year. I mean, everyone gets really busy. I mean, how much of collaboration, I mean, you mentioned like 2 years out, that's the vision, right? But really it's a 6-month vision. And so how much collaboration are you doing with the OEMs? I mean, any one of you from the 2-year out point? Probably not a lot, but I mean, you guys, I mean, I know I've worked with Paul on a lot of projects and it's short lead time. So reactive is always a thing. I mean, how much are you guys working with the OEMs and early out to get that going? A lot?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. So we leverage some of you have extensive capabilities in research and development. You have the equipment in place in your facilities. We co-develop with the customer and you, so we don't have those capabilities at the moment. So we want to rely on you. We actually do rent equipment. We rent lines. We take that equipment into your facilities and then try to navigate what the new product is going to be or take that into our facilities. So we have to rely a lot on you. The other thing is that we are a co-manufacturer, so we have to be cost effective, meaning that we are competing with our customers as well. We have to be cost effective compared to them. So that means that we have to work with you because I need to keep my staff low. I don't have that many engineers. I have to rely on your knowledge and your engineering as well.
Right.
Yeah, we lean on our manufacturers a lot as well, our OEMs, to tell us what's coming up next, what other capabilities can we add to our systems. We lean on them a lot for direction and capabilities.
I mean, you guys buy up a lot of bakeries recently, and how much of that used equipment are you guys putting into place,
It depends
and
on
moving
the
stuff from place to place,
Yeah, we move more than we'd like to because it's expensive to buy new, but it's also expensive to move.
Right.
So we sometimes move some pretty old equipment that we'd rather just purchase new, but again, it's cost justification.
I think there's a new expectation, in particular for us. Private equity wants to see results pretty fast. They have a clear goal. With that goal, then the times have to be compressed. And what we're seeing a lot is that we're looking more into secondhand equipment. We would like to then have the OEM participation as well, because we can retrofit equipment to an extent, but we would like to have the OEM behind that as well. So I think that's a new trend that we're seeing more and more. In the last couple of years, we've been executing more of that. But it would be great that if we could all pivot together to say, hey, there's a lot of secondhand equipment out there. We can support that equipment still with a few modifications and then work together with us as well.
And then on new equipment design, how much flexibility are you designing? Are you guys wanting equipment that's just going to run one product? Or you guys want equipment that's going to run 20 different SKUs, let's say, and with the innovation that's coming out with that?
I would say flexibility is nice, but it feels it always comes at a cost as well. So as we optimize, it's really important. And our goal is always to get volume up as well. So that sometimes negates flexibility, but we do need to find a lot of flexibility in how to test concepts fast and get products launched into market fast, even sometimes if they're regional. How do we get full-scale consumer feedback quick? And that's really where flexibility becomes even more important. And it's also where a lot of partnerships become very important in order to try and learn and really understand the consumer.
Right. Are you have innovation centers within your locations, or are you using, I know a lot of companies out here have innovation centers. Are you guys using that to help the process during any of your product development?
We do. So I would say that every time that we develop a new capital project, we are now investing in the tech center as well. So we want to have those capabilities in our place because we thrive in flexibility. We have to pivot all of the time. So we want to have that capability to also try to sell new ideas to the customers. Our role is a little bit different, and we're seeing that the big customers that we had, the 20-year contracts, the big volumes, the one format all the time, that is going away. And what we're seeing a lot is new companies. They're more like a marketing company. We're seeing that they don't have operations, they don't have engineering. We are that for them. So we definitely need to be flexible. We need to start thinking about minimum order quantities and smaller batches, and then have a system that we can have as automated as possible, but as flexible as possible. That seems like an impossible task. That's more like a challenge to all of us right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would love to build dedicated lines, but unfortunately that's not part of our world. So our lines have to be very flexible, which is challenging because it's hard to be extremely efficient when you're making a very large variety of products or sizes on machine. So that's a challenge for us. We'd like to streamline it to a simpler process, but that's just not what our customer base is.
Right. I think that brings up the next point of how are you guys balancing product quality? How are you balancing sanitation and everything when you're trying to run a high rate, or you might have small batch product that's going through? Like, how are you guys balancing when it comes to stuff like that?
I think for us, for kind of tying into your previous question, Sergio, the new product formats and the innovation that consumers are demanding these days, there's a lot of inherent unknowns that come with that related to product quality and sanitation, and how are you going to be managing this in your facility long-term, day in and day out. And that is for us where some of that innovation center partnership comes into play. not only from an R&D perspective, where you're actually getting to explore recipe development and the process capability of your formula on this proposed equipment, but we're also able to troubleshoot and experience what some of those sanitation challenges may be, some of those product quality challenges, what that may look like before we get to scale, before we break into our line time, which is so precious. So those partnerships have been invaluable to us because we don't have any sort of bread or bun pilot scale facility at Campbell's headquarters. So
I think that one of the key challenges for us is that we see more allergens coming in. We see more certifications coming in. We see that there's a wide variety of SKUs. So for us, it's key that our uptime is maximized and our sanitation procedures are kept to the minimum, but being able to make sure that we don't have issues with the quality of the product with the customer. So in terms of what equipment requirements we have is wash downs, easy changeovers, easy setups, and then also being able to provide a solution that our employees can work with, that they can be fast changing over, washing, and then going to the next SKU. So it is becoming more and more important because we're seeing different trends out there and then different allergens and different certifications.
Right. And you guys are obviously identifying the SOPs in that process. Or do you have them fully set into place, or is that something that as the process is going that you're kind of starting to create again?
For us, I do think we're moving very quick. So one way to move fast is we do a lot of testing in 1 or 2 locations, but we may launch in 30.
Mm-hmm.
So having that early scale-up understanding allows us to start those SOPs, set specifications, et cetera. And then sometimes we'll bring the bakery groups together to do hands-on training.
Yeah.
And that allows us to go live in 30 bakeries in 1 week.
That's crazy.
Which is a lot. And I will say too, the faster we move, the more we're finding we need post-launch support. So we have to be prepared for that, where we want to be as optimized as possible and, perfect out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
We also know we're going to have a lot of learning. And once we're in full line production, we can really optimize. So planning for that and not moving on to the next thing too quickly is really important.
We move different, so co-manufacturing a little bit different.
Yeah.
We have, I guess, initial contracts in place where we provide some of the information for the changeovers, the runs, the size, the productivity. But then what we have to be very careful is with the contract with our customer to tell them, hey, we're going to do a ramp up, and in 2 months, we're going to talk again.
Right.
We're going to talk about labor, we're going to talk about cleanability and changeovers. So it's a little bit different because we don't have that luxury to plan out so far. Right. We have to be fast to go to production, and then we'll pivot from there.
Yeah, so we don't have pilot plants. We have R&D centers across the country where we develop the products. We actually, trial it on the lines. Again, breaking into a line costs money. It's, it's time that we don't really have to spare. So we try to minimize that as much as possible. We typically do like a 1 week ramp up, and then the second week we kind of determine we'll be at like 50% capacity. Then by week 3 we want to be, fully operational, which is, depending on the line, can be quite a bit of a challenge.
Right. So and that leads right into the next thing. We look at, what have you learned from having a successful run to what you guys are evaluating, whether it's 6 months down, 12 months down, and what we learned yesterday about AI. How much are you guys incorporating that into what's going on in your facilities currently? I mean, I learned a lot yesterday on AI that was really mind-blowing on how much there is with it. Again, back to you guys, like on what you're learning from using AI with your plants.
So we write now really good emails. No, I felt a little bit overwhelmed yesterday. I was talking to some of you, and I feel a little bit behind on certain things.
Agreed.
We have explored some options. We do have a system that manages all of the contracts. So now we move into this cloud, and then we can actually, with our partners, we can start seeing what are the past contracts that we have had, what is the typical redlining that we do, what are the keywords that we have to be aware to negotiate with them. So that's going now. But in terms of other connectivity inside the company, we have not yet explored that. Training, we know, is a big thing that we need to get to, but until this point, we just have not gotten there. Now, the effort that we're doing is more on a personal level. So I think that's a keynote from yesterday, that people are using AI all of the time. People are not using Copilot. They're using whatever they want to use, myself included. And then we're just not organized. So I think it's important that the company has that defined strategy. What is it that we're going to do that works best for us? And then not be limited to just Copilot or one tool. Just be flexible to be able to create something new.
Right, right.
Yeah, I can add, personally, I'm using AI the most right now to figure out how to take care of my tomato plants. So, but within the business, there's a lot of investment in understanding how we're going to continue to build. And I think some of the complexity is just taking it one step at a time.
Right.
Because I get excited, and when I think of AI and data, it's like this is a huge opportunity for just massive statistical analysis to draw conclusions and find trends. And we're looking at AI on how we identify differences and variances coming into our plants with materials, et cetera. How can we start to use it for predictive work, which is really exciting about leading indicator opportunities. But how do we find correlations and clusters across formulas in different regions or different locations? How our bakeries are so very different, but how do we create information and insight from that we can take action on, sometimes for savings, sometimes for executing faster or optimizing quality, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. One of the things I saw was like the ROI. So when he made that sheet up there yesterday, and I was like, oh, that could be easily used from an OEM to you guys, and you guys can implement something like that. So again, there's so much to be learned.
Yeah. So I have like two different parts of that answer. The first part is how do we do postmortems, so a 6-month, a 12-month, an 18-month postmortem. But that's more from just a financial aspect. Like, is it performing like it's supposed to? Did it cut out the labor? Are we as efficient as we thought we were going to be? Just to kind of gut check that we received from a financial standpoint what this project was supposed to achieve. On the AI front, an entirely different subject. We have been allowed to use it now. We have Claude licenses, but they're very tied down. So like you could dump in an Excel spreadsheet and say, convert this to a PowerPoint presentation or things like that. But we can't use co-work. We can't interact with other parts of the company. They're very, very strict about what information is allowed to be put in and pulled out of it. So we're still locked down quite a bit, but even the little bit that we do use it is tremendously helpful. But I just wish we could do more. Like I said, we don't have full, I guess, transparency of our numbers in there just yet.
Yeah, I can piggyback off of the two-prong answer approach. So from a technical readiness perspective, our postmortems are a little bit closer in coming out of that product launch time. We do 30, 45, and 60-day reviews, and that's really centered around optimizing those SOPs, those product specifications. So we're still in conversations with and partnering with our OEMs, our ingredient suppliers, et cetera, to ensure that that product that we did scale up quite quickly, most likely, is performing the way we want it to in the facility. And later we see and are able to react to more of the financial impact of this new product on the line. But from a technical readiness perspective, we're looking at it quite quickly coming out of launch. And then related to AI, I will say it gave me comfort that I was not alone in feeling left behind yesterday. I took a ton of notes, and I'm excited to go back to my team and ask if some of these different platforms are things that we've explored. And today we're using Copilot, like it seems many of us are. But coming out of yesterday, it's obvious that that's barely even scratching the surface on what that opportunity looks like and how you can actually leverage AI and really make it impactful in our businesses. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like we're all so behind on everything with AI after everything he showed yesterday. I feel like we need that training every month in order to get caught up to speed. That was amazing. Well, one of the best things that we like to do at BEMA is open it up for Q&A. How are we doing on time, Renee? I can't see the clock. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the panelists?
Can Can you give us some insight on the internal conversations around the clean label movement and also the pressure around ingredient transparency that's coming down the pipeline? I noticed Pepsi's releasing QR codes on all of their packaging. So trying to give us a bit more clarity around that.
I can talk to natural colors. Like we have a whole team working on natural colors, obviously doing a lot of icing. Cake icing is pretty colorful. So we have to do a massive, natural color project within the organization. And it's like I said, taking an entire team. It's pretty extensive because it's not only finding the product out in the field, the ingredients, because some of the replacement for red or the replacement for blue, maybe very limited amounts out there. And we will contract, a natural color source's entire yearly allotment. The cost of it's quite a bit more. It has to be stored under refrigeration. The shelf life's shorter. I mean, there's so many different facets to the net. Like people don't realize we're storing it under refrigeration. It's a much shorter shelf life. It itself, the color fades instead of lasting a year. After 6 months, it starts to fade. So we have to put a shorter shelf life on the icing. So it's just a dramatic undertaking. I can only speak from the color side because we have to put in new refrigeration in the plants to store the colors and things like that. So I don't know as much about personally about the ingredient side as I do the coloring side because that's affecting me personally, but I'm sure one of them does.
No, and I think, this is not a new topic, but it's going to stay relevant for a very long time and potentially continue to change in what it means to consumers when they think about transparency and clean label. I think with information availability, it's not going away as far as consumers want to do research. They want to understand what they're consuming, what they're buying for their families. So it's going to evolve. And for us, we look at it by brands, and different brands have different strategies. We look because we know consumers are not all the same either. And we try to have a portfolio to please, everyone. Technically, it does create hurdles on cost, on tolerance. I think as we think operationally and even with our equipment, we have to be sharp operators and we have to be more tuned in and really watch our operating procedures, our gaps, et cetera, because sometimes we do lose some tolerance. We can make great products, but we might have to think differently about how we manufacture as well, because we always want it all. We want the shelf life, we want the clean label, and we want the speed. And that balance can be a challenge, but it's not going away. So I do see technology catching up, both on functionality and cost, but not in all categories.
Yeah, our approach is very similar as far as mindful of who those consumers are in the various parts of our portfolio. We have a number of different brands, and those consumers are all very different, and how they react to clean label or ingredient transparency is also very different, and what's important to each of them. I will say we try to find that unique solution that can cross over those different portfolios, but more often than not, it doesn't work for one reason or another. But we are very mindful of what that solution can be and should be to be most cost advantageous and really cross across our portfolios and please those various consumers. So,
Anybody else?
other questions?
Thank you. I'm Heather with Puratos Ingredients, and we're in partnership with AMF with a pilot bakery. We work with many equipment manufacturers, but that is at your disposal. Do you see as bakers, is there hesitancy in utilizing teams, whether it's the ones I just mentioned or others in this room, based on your own confidentiality or hesitancy to come and partner with us to help you through these issues, whether it's clean label formulation or making sure you're utilizing the right equipment to make your commercialization go faster?
I think we're very open to that. We actually want to encourage that. We want to leverage on that. The way that our projects work is I can include that partnership as part of a capital project. So that hits our bottom line differently. So we do want to do that, but then we have limitations with the customer. So we are always limited to what the customer wants. We can limit them we can do a partnership where we are talking about equipment, processes, that's 100% on our responsibility, but then the formulation perhaps is something that we can't touch. So I do think that we want to leverage on that much more.
And I think for us, we have a lot of great partners that are able to offer really good technical solutions, lab capabilities, pilot. When it becomes easy is when there's that service support component and the technical answer, whether it's equipment, ingredient, or what. Because then we can really all engage and be all in together, and the transparency challenges kind of go away. So having a great pilot or service is fantastic, but it becomes very easy to be all in together if there's a component for your business to win and us to win in parallel.
Hi, my question is, on the operations side, what is keeping you up at night?
Sorry, what'd you?
What's keeping you
On
up at night?
operations side, what is keeping you up at night?
On our side, it's labor. Labor is very complicated right now. We have a generation that has left, so we don't have the technical support that we used to have. All the legacy employees either are retiring or they're just gone from our facilities. And then we have this new generation of employees that they're just moving along different companies. So that creates a lot of opportunities we need to improve in training, we need to improve in the changeovers, in the cleanability, in accessibility to equipment. We do struggle a lot on the night shift, the third shift. We dramatically see that the performance drops down on the third shift. So it's something that we struggle a lot. Now, the other thing that it always keeps us awake is food safety and employee safety. So that's always been there. That's a big concern that we always have. And then as the products get more challenging, as more ingredients are used, you have more chances of potential contamination. So it's something that is pretty much in our mind all times.
I think very similar answer on our side. Skilled labor and training, whether it be internal training that we at Campbell's own, facilitate, and manage, and or leveraging the training opportunities that our vendors offer. The catch-22 is finding the time to conduct the training and having the right folks sit in on that training. So having the right employees who are ready, willing, and able to learn and understand what their job is going to entail day in and day out, the bigger picture, if you will. So that's definitely been a big topic of conversation internally for us, is what does that training platform or program look like to make it as robust as possible and as efficient for us as possible.
And I would just echo the same thing that they both said. We have the same struggles with labor, that kind of stuff. But I'd go a little step further and say that in trying to make the equipment, easier to run for the line operators, then you get another technical level for maintenance that we have a hard gap of closing. Because just finding technical people out there that are able to continue to keep these machines running becomes a challenge as they get more complex on that side. Simpler for the operators to use, but more complex for the maintenance people, staff to troubleshoot. That's an issue that we struggle with currently.
Right.
We have time for one more question. Any others? Okay, very well. Sergio and all the panelists, thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you. All right. Operational Spotlight panel, thank you very much. Wonderful information. Real quick, another round of applause for these guys.